Okay, kids, it's time for another episode of the Fueled by Weird podcast, the only podcast where it's lights, camera, chat time. I'm Chris Daly, and tonight I'd like to welcome Darren Coyle to the show. Darren, how's it going, sir?
It's going well, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, sir, and I just realized that I forgot to change my name, so we're just going to change it on the fly really quick. Cool. Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm glad shout out to your brother Patrick, uh writer of Bigsby
Yes.
Grant, Private Eye for those who are indie comic book nerds. Um I'm very excited that he got us connected together. I'm very, very, very excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I can talk about movies and filmmaking and all this stuff till the cows come home. So,
Fantastic. Well, we're gonna dig in. I got some stuff I want to chat about that I'm very excited and spoiler, my wife is very excited to hear some of this stuff too. So, and we'll get to that in a minute.
oh, okay.
First of all, I wanted to say happy belated birthday. It was your birthday a couple days ago. Did
Yes,
you
it was.
did you have a
Yes, it
good
was.
birthday?
I had a great birthday. I
Nice.
did.
Very
I went
cool.
to a I went to a magic show, which was a
Nice.
lot of fun. I love magic.
Me too.
I am not a magician by any means, and
Yeah.
I don't try to do it, but I
Yeah,
love watching it live. I like watching
for sure.
like Penn and Teller fool us on
Yeah.
TV, and all this stuff. So
That's
I
cool,
was,
man.
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Magic too. Me and my oldest daughter. My youngest daughter kind of just can take it or leave it, but myself and my oldest daughter, we really get into it. My wife
Mhm.
just thinks it's so dumb, but I'm like, it's dumb fun is what it is.
Well, honestly, I kind of feel like it's one of those things, either you're into it or you're not.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can understand like people that are not into it,
Yeah.
but they're missing out.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, I've always kind of been a big fan of Magic since I was a kid, and recently my daughter and I got a chance to go to see a Magic show live in person, and yeah, that's live in person is magical, man. For,
Yeah.
no pun intended. It's good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. There's the I live in Los Angeles, and there's a place in Los Angeles called the Magic Castle,
Yeah.
which is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It is a magical place. It is basically like this giant, I'm pretty sure it's like a Victorian era like building. It's not like it anyway, they have a bunch of different small little theaters in it, and then they have like one bigger main stage, and then they have one lounge where there's a lot of close magic, sleight of hand, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a restaurant, they have a bar, so you can go for a show and then hang out in the bar afterwards and see magic and really have a whole night of it. It's pretty awesome. They even make you dress up. Like you can't walk
That's
in
so
there in
cool.
sneakers and you need to wear a suit. Ladies need to wear dresses.
Yeah.
They're very old school about it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's I've been there a couple times and it is pretty awesome.
That's where they have that Magic Club, right? The one that Neil Patrick Harris always talks about.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
Neil
okay.
Patrick Harris was
Yeah.
like the president of the Magic Castle for like a year or something like that,
Yeah.
as was J.J. Abrams.
Ah, that's so cool. Now, if I
And
ever come to,
I don't know what that job entails,
that's neat
being the
though.
president of I'm assuming since Neil Patrick Harris and J.J. Abrams had the job, it probably doesn't require a lot of hands-on things. Probably
Yeah.
more of just a title,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, if I ever come to LA, that's definitely a place I want to hit up for sure, is the Magic
yeah,
Castle. That'd be a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
fun.
Hmm.
Very cool. All right, man. So I usually like to start these things off with an icebreaker question. So today's icebreaker
So
question is, what is the earliest book that you remember?
Phantom Tollbooth probably.
Oh, that's a
Phantom
good one.
Tollbooth or Wrinkle in Time.
Okay. That's a good
Um,
one.
Both being very like fantasy sci-fi esque, which
Yeah.
is probably what kind of pulled me in. Also, the main character in both of those books is a child. Um, I'm not sure how old the girl is in Wrinkle in Time. I think she's like 12 or 13 or something like that.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, that was the first book I remember reading. Um, and I was a theater kid. So I was actually in a theatrical production of Phantom Tollbooth.
That's awesome.
Um, it didn't, I don't think the play version of that caught on. So there weren't like productions of that in every middle school in America. I think maybe my theater teacher maybe actually just wrote it themselves and just had us
Sure.
perform it for like it was for like theater camp. It was like summer theater camp.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean I was a theater kid pretty much since like fourth grade on.
Nice.
And it was I was a double major in English and theater in college, which is not something I necessarily recommend.
Sure.
But at the same time, I wouldn't tell you not to do it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like once you get out, I mean, once you have um, that degree, I don't think you walk into any audition and they go, "Where's your degree from?" You know, and like and then like because if you act like terribly, they
Yeah.
go, "Well, he did go to Wesleyan. Maybe we should cast him." It's like I've been working in television for like the last 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Uh, I've I've never had anyone like ask me what my degree is in or where it's from. They
Hmm.
look at your resume, they want to know what you did and what you can do and what you're
Yeah.
going to do. They honestly, and for a lot of the arts, I would say, and kind of in general, is like they don't really care about the degree that's on the wall or the name on it or anything like that. They care about your skills and your talents.
It's good to know.
Uh, just to go off on a theater tangent.
No, that's okay. No, growing up, I was kind of theater kid adjacent. So a lot of my friends were
Uh,
either theater kids or they
yeah.
were band kids. So
Band, yeah, okay.
yeah, I was a journalism nerd. So I was a yearbook
Oh,
guy for
mm,
majority of my high school career. I did a lot of photography. Um, but for my earliest book, I would say. So when I was a kid, my dad was kind of a big advocate of reading, and that's kind of where I got my love of reading from. We'd always go to the library and participate in the summer reading programs, and I got to a point where I was like, I don't, like I don't really know what to read. Like, what I didn't really know what sounded good or whatever, and so I was like, Dad, what are some suggestions you'd give me? And he started getting me like all the classics, like Encyclopedia Brown and the Hardy Boys, all the classic stuff you can think of. But the first thing he got for me was Around the World in 80 Days.
yeah.
That's the first one I remember. Kind of a weird one. But yeah, he had started like for Christmas or birthdays, he would get me books in this particular line of books, like a Great Illustrated Classics, I think is what the name of it is.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
cool.
where they kind of redid all the classics in kind of like the kids version, I guess, kinda. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that was one of the first ones I remember reading is Around the World in 80 Days because my dad's like, "Hey, read this, it's really good." But on that same token, my dad told me I should read Lord of the Flies as a young child, and that was a crazy experience as a, you know, 12, 13-year-old kid reading Lord of the
Yeah,
Flies.
yeah.
So yeah, kind of wild. So that's definitely the most memorable one for sure. But no, the first one I remember is Around the World in 80 Days. So
There's what's the book? Crap, I can't remember the name of it offhand. It's a classic one that everyone reads in high school about the kid that leaves boarding school and goes to New York City. Um, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but I read that when I was like 13 or 14 and the main character is like 13 and he
nice.
does all this rebellious stuff and you're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to rebel. It puts you know, some untoward ideas into your young mind.
For sure. Yeah, and I think I remember what you're talking about. I can't remember it either, but high school was too far away for me. I can't. It was too long ago. I can't remember. So long ago. Um, all right. So, I kind of want to ask now, what are the things that fuel your weird? What are some of your hobbies, your interests and stuff you do when you're not busy working?
Yeah, so like the main thing I do as a career to make money as a job, but it's also a job that I like, is working as a TV producer, mostly on true crime shows, what I like to call unscripted, shows,
Yeah,
documentary stuff. Um, but the stuff that I do that I would do whether they paid me or not is the stuff that I do on the side, which is more filmmaking stuff. There's a lot of overlap in skills and knowledge between making documentary unscripted television and making, films, but also they are definitely apples and oranges at the same time because
sure.
um, uh, scripted filmmaking is like uh, special unto itself in that, you can write whatever you want. You can have the characters say whatever you want them to say. And these are things that like I quite often do when no one's paying me to do this stuff. I just do it because I love doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of screenwriting, but sometimes I will take those screenplays and make them into films. I've done a number of short films, and I've also done a feature film called Chasing Sunshine that you can see on Tubi or Amazon.
Sweet.
And the thing about that is, I mentioned that I was a theater major. I was a double
Yeah.
major in English and theater.
Hmm.
So out of college, I went to New York City and pursued a career in acting for a number of years, and just got frustrated with that process because it's a business. 80% of it is a business, 20% of it is art. So there's a lot of just like auditioning and rejection and just not getting things. And you're just like, I'm as good as those 50 other guys in the audition room.
Yeah.
But and it just felt like I just had very little to no control over what I was doing creatively and what I wanted to do creatively. So at one point, I literally just kind of said, well, you know what? I'm gonna start writing things, like writing plays. Like, and you don't have to start off big. I just started off small. I was like, well, let me just write like a 10-page play that happens in my living room, and we'll see how that goes. And it was terrible, but like my roommate was an actor as well, so like he helped me like do a read through of it and stuff like that. And I was like, that, even though I wasn't very good at it, it at least gave me some not only autonomy, but like uh gave me some for lack of a better term, control over what I was doing and what the project was and what it was going to be. And it was hopefully going to go as far as I would take it. So if it's a play, then you have a friend that runs a black box theater. You get some friends together and you go and you perform the play in that black box theater for little to no money, and probably 15 people show up to watch it, but at least you did it and it was created by you, acted by you, and you did the whole thing. And I was like, well, I like this. So I stopped acting and started pursuing like writing and directing and those kinds of things. And it's very freeing and awesome, but at the same time, it's like you are kind of operating um, with a small audience,
Yeah.
just friends and neighbors and family and stuff like that, or at least that's where you
Sure.
start.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I was waiting tables at the time, so I was like, well, I'm gonna get a day job that helps me to fuel this filmmaker dream that I have. So I got an internship that turned into a PA job in a production company in New York, and then just I'm working on reality shows. This is a long time ago, but like working on reality shows. And what I did was I considered that my film school, where, while we were working, I would just ask the sound guy about his equipment and how he does his job. I asked the director of photography about his camera and his lenses and stuff and how he does his job or her job. And just did my best over the next few years to absorb what experience, what knowledge I could. And then I worked for this really cool company. It was a small little production company, but like the guy whose company it was literally said to me, if you have your own projects that you want to do, feel free to use any and all of our equipment on the weekends to make your own stuff.
That's awesome.
And which was super awesome. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna do that, which I definitely did. I not only did I do that, I shot some scenes in the office because we needed an office
Wow.
scene, and
Sure.
and so at that point in time, it was just like very much guerrilla filmmaking. And by guerrilla filmmaking, I mean like beg, borrow, and steal, try to do everything for free,
Yeah.
borrow equipment, ask friends to work for free or for pizza, and just like don't sit around waiting for the big one. Like make small little things, make mistakes where when no one's watching. That way down the road, you don't make mistakes when people are watching.
Sure.
And that was kind of like that's kind of like I had this was kind of like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, if you will, where one I had a job that actually made me money
Yeah.
on TV shows, but then, in my free time and stuff like that, I worked on my own stuff for no money. And over the years, I was able to kind of like cobble together a body of work, some of which isn't very good, some of which is okay. But I never would show anyone something that I wasn't proud of.
Sure.
So like if you get to the end of a project and you're just like, oh, this is shit. I don't want anyone to see it,
Yeah.
then no one needs to see it, you
Yeah.
know?
Sure.
So I guess over the years, just wanting to create things where where I didn't have anyone bossing me around or boxing me in or telling me what I could and couldn't do.
Sure.
You really, I honestly, like, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
Because like I work on plenty of TV shows and get plenty of like network notes and executive producer notes that I don't always agree with or think are very good, but you
Sure.
still got to do them. And so you end up making a show that's the show they want. It's not necessarily the show that you wanted, but then that's fine. It's a job and that's what they hired you to do. But
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, I'll do it. I'm going to do that for them. But then for me, I'm going to do these other projects over here that I can really kind of make them what I want them to.
For sure.
So that was a long-winded answer to your question.
No, you're totally fine. Like you said, it's you can't put a price on having a job where you kind of get to be your own boss. And I think at the same token, it's very rare to be able to find, where your hobby and your job kind of mesh together, right? Where, you know, your hobby's your job is your hobby. Because, like they say, do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And so I think it's very cool that you've been able to kind of manifest that for yourself. That's very cool.
Yeah. Not that I'm living in the lap of luxury here in Los
Sure.
Angeles.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean I think if you can strike that um if you can strike that kind of balance in your
Yeah,
life, um it's actually pretty rewarding.
for sure. For sure. So you mentioned that you originally, before you got into, directing, producing, all of that, you originally were interested in becoming an actor. So what was it that
Yeah.
kind of inspired you to try out acting in the first place?
Since I was in fourth grade, I was in a production of Rumpelstiltskin, and I was Rumpelstiltskin.
Nice.
Weird flex.
Hey, not at
But
all, man. It's all good.
it was community theater. It was
Yeah.
children's community theater, and from the get-go, I loved doing it. I loved um, I liked the production aspect and rehearsing and like singing and dancing and doing all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then you get a reward. You perform it and you get immediate gratification of laughs or clapping or, oohs and ahs or whatever. And that was really pretty awesome to me, especially, and even as I grew up, the more I realized the more community theater I did, the more I realized that like that's very much like a DIY situation when it's like you and 15 of your friends or not your friends putting together a production of Hair or whatever in your local high school auditorium and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was always like I always thought that was kind of like cool. You're kind of making something out of nothing, really,
Yeah, definitely.
you know.
That's kind of the
And
magic of creation, though, right? You're just, there,
yeah,
what once was not there is there now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the same goes for, you know, traditional art, classical art, or music, or there's lots of different things where you're literally just kind of like making something out of nothing.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Now, you said you kind of then decided to make the transition from in front of the screen to behind the screens, where you started
Mhm.
out as a production assistant. How did you, when were you given the chance to, kind of go from production assistant, to directing your own features? Was that like, did someone kind of give you that chance? Like, hey, this is an opportunity. Did you kind of just, like you said before, kind of just take the opportunity in your spare time? How did that come about?
I just did it on my own in my own spare time. I mean, luckily my boss said, "Hey, you can use any of our equipment for your own stuff. Go for it."
Yeah,
I probably would have done that anyways, but it was nice to get the blessing so
for
you're
sure.
not breaking the
Yeah,
rules.
for sure.
But I would say to anyone out there, if you work at a production company or a rental house or something like that, like grab their shit and go make your own shit with it. It's like, come on, don't play by the rules.
Yeah,
Don't wait for anyone to give you permission. Go and make it. Um, and again, it probably won't be very good, but like the stakes are low. You're making it for no money, and like probably no one will see it anyways. So like it's okay. You'll learn as you go. So I mean that was yeah, when I first got that job, especially when my boss was just like, if you want to use it, go for it. I was like, okay, next weekend, let's go.
let's do it.
I've got this short script that I wrote 6 months ago. It all
Sure.
takes place in my apartment. Let's go make it. And and that was it. I wasn't waiting for permission. I wasn't waiting for anyone else to come along and say and recognize me as the unfounded genius that I am. I was just like, well, I'm just gonna make some fun shit with my friends and it's okay if it falls flat on its face.
For sure. I mean, and you're always, your first thing, you're not always gonna, produce or direct even the most amazing thing first time out the gate. It's
Yeah.
always not going to be very good when you start. I mean, because that's just kind of the nature of the beast, right? You have to,
Yeah.
get the practice and get the repetition and then get going, really well before things turn out good. And even you've been doing things for a while, and sometimes things don't turn out well. So it's just a matter of putting the work in and getting the experience in there to get it done. And even making that first thing, whether it's awful or not, you're still miles in front of the people who are still afraid to start their thing.
Yeah. I mean, one major thing that I've really tried to like remember and keep it as my North Star, so to speak, as I go,
Sure.
is that don't sit on your baby and wait 4 years to make your baby, whatever that might be, that one project that you're like, oh my God, that's the best thing. That's gonna be the thing that people will know me for, or that's gonna be like awesome. And so you're waiting around to have the the resources to make that. In my case, it would be film. And like in that 4 years, though, you could make like five other smaller projects
It's true.
and learn as you go and amass a body of work. And we are talking about muscles. These are like perishable skills that like
Yeah,
if you don't use them, you will get rusty. Like you might be really good at X, Y, and Z right now, but if you wait around 4 years for that opportunity to do the thing without using those muscles along the way, they are going to get weaker and you
it's
are going to
true.
forget how to do things. And so like volunteer for your friends' stuff and like give them your time and keep those muscles working, you
For
know?
sure. Definitely. Now, with all the different things you've worked in, do you have a favorite genre of movies and stuff you like to, or TV even that you like to dabble in?
Yeah, comedies.
For sure. And what about like
Comedies,
when you're
yeah.
when you're not working? Is that still kind of the same thing?
Well, so I mean, when I'm working, it's mostly on like true crime, and so like someone's dead, and
Yeah.
it's usually pretty heavy subject matter. So that, and plus I like to laugh and I like to make other people laugh, and so I like to. Plus, comedy writing is. I know this might be unpopular, but comedy writing is a lot harder to do than drama writing
Oh, for
or
sure.
writing like horror.
I believe
Like
that.
comedy is really difficult to write. And so I do kind of consider it a challenge to write and then, you know, shoot and direct and edit it all together. And hopefully it's still amusing and funny
Yeah.
when you get to the finish line.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
it's
comedy. I think at this point I've made like four or five shorts, and then the feature that I mentioned, Chasing Sunshine, which is on Tubi and Amazon platforms, is also very much a comedy. Yeah.
me, it's I would imagine it's definitely easier to scare somebody than it is to make someone laugh. So I would 100% believe that
Yeah.
comedy's way harder.
Yeah. And unfortunately, comedies have been the number of comedies being made and the kind of comedies being made have kind of diminished, you know, in the
Yeah.
last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. They're not making as many these days.
Everyone wants scary stuff. That's the
Yeah, or
that's
like
popular right
you know,
now.
cops and robbers,
Yeah.
you know, or
Cops and robbers or doctors, true
yeah,
crime, like you said.
or apparently anything that happens in the West.
Yeah. That too. That too. Or anything that happens in a hospital.
Yes, yes.
Um, is there a genre that you want to work in that you haven't had a chance to yet?
I would love a chance to work in like science fiction or fantasy, that kind of thing.
That'd be cool.
Um, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times that kind of stuff requires a bit of a budget for like
Special effects, stuff like that.
special effects and hair and makeup
Yeah.
and sets and stuff like that. And so unless you embrace that side of it and then just make the cardboard version of Star Wars. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Some guy remade Star Wars Episode 4, but like with all cardboard.
Hmm.
It's pretty awesome.
It is awesome.
Um, but yeah, I suppose that's what I would like. I'd love to do an opportunity to do that if I could, but it
Yeah.
probably won't happen, but you never know.
You never know. Never say never, right?
Right.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you used to work on TV show, or not used to, you've worked on TV shows. A couple that stood out to
Still do.
me were the shows Maid and Wife Swap, which this is where we get to the part where my wife's excited because those are a couple of my wife's favorite shows. Um,
Oh, okay.
and she also is really big into true crime and stuff like that. So when she
Okay.
found out I was talking to the guy who works on People Magazine Investigated, she was very, very excited.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I want to talk a little bit about your experience working on, these different kinds of TV shows.
Sure.
What's the kind of prep work that goes into, a show like Maid or Wife Swap, or, the work that goes into a show like People Magazine?
So, Maid and Wife Swap are both social experiment shows.
Hmm.
which is a little different from like Your People Magazine Investigates, which is a true crime show, which is
Sure.
very much more like a traditional documentary where you interview all the parties involved, and but everything's already happened in the past.
Yeah.
With social experiment shows, like still like Survivor, Big Brother, these kinds of shows,
Yeah.
everything is happening now. And so ABR, always be rolling, is your rule of thumb when
Sure.
you're shooting this show. Um, and I don't mean to diminish the show or anything like that, but I always describe those social experiment shows as like a 5-year-old's birthday party.
Yeah.
You're gonna plan a lot of stuff. The people might like they might do everything and then just sit there being bored and staring at you and say, now what? Or they might not want to do any of the things that you planned, sitting there staring at you saying, is this all? Or they might just hack away at the pinata for 5 hours. Like you don't know what these 5-year-olds are going to want to do. So it's important that you plan as many things as you can and then roll, roll, roll. Always be rolling and see what happens. And then once everything has happened, you can start to figure out where your story is. And when I say story, I mean like everything's a story. Like
Sure.
me telling you I went to the grocery store and came home, that's a story. It might not be very exciting, but it's still a story
Right.
that really happened. So, like the social experiment shows, those are actual stories as well. And you just have to figure out like the a compelling way of telling what actually happened.
Sure.
Because you could just show the audience the raw footage, but it's not going to make any sense, and you need to put it in context so that people understand what's going on. So I would say, and across the board for all those kinds of shows, preparation is very key. You have to prepare, prepare, prepare because once you show up for the thing and once you start rolling the camera, there's no more preparation. Now you're in it and you have to have clarity of plan and a clarity of vision so that you don't so that you can still see the forest for the trees
Sure.
once you get into it. Maid, I'm really glad she liked Maid because honestly, that is a show that I'm very proud of because, and I'll tell you why,
Okay.
because the field producer in that is a one-man band. And when I say that, I mean me. I'm in the field for 5 weeks with the kid. I'm shooting camera, I'm rolling sound, I'm figuring out where we're going. Figuring out I'm racking focus and figuring out how to shoot something in real time. I'm getting kids to sign releases because everyone who's on camera has to sign a release. And and you're with this kid pretty much one on one for like 5 weeks straight. So there's a lot of work that goes into it that probably a lot of people don't understand. They probably figure, oh, there's a camera crew there. No, 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 no. It's literally one person doing the whole thing. It's a
Wow.
lot of work, and these kids are great. And whether they win the thing or lose the thing or whatever at the end of the thing, the important thing is not whether they win or lose. It's the important thing is that they learn something about themselves on the way there. And
Sure.
I feel like Made, for all of MTV's other shows that they made, the show Made actually like did a great job of documenting these kids and like really like showing them from beginning to end and didn't hype it up, didn't like trump it up, nothing like that. It was just kind of like wasn't Jersey Shore, you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh yeah.
it was the real deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And I I really liked working on that show, even though it was a ton of work and it was exhausting.
I'm sure.
Uh, but I was super proud of every episode we made of that show. And
Cool.
but yeah.
Very cool. So with that one, it's kind of more like you go in with a game plan, and then you have to have several backup plans. But then like with show like People Magazine Investigates, it's probably a lot of research, I'd imagine.
Yeah, yeah. For People Magazine and for any true crime show, really,
Yeah,
you prep. You do a lot of research so that you know the case backwards and forwards, in and out. You know what everyone said in court and what they testified to and what they did and all that stuff. So once you show up and you're interviewing these people, you know what 90% of their answers are going to be. You just need to get it on camera, them saying it. And
yeah,
then sometimes you get some like really interesting and compelling accidents or like something you didn't know. Or actually, that was my brother's car. That wasn't my car. And it was in, and the thing was in and the gun was in the trunk. And you're like, whoa, 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 that's not what it says in the police report.
yeah,
Or like something else, like you might think this one thing was like a huge uh change in the case. And that was like when the penny dropped and like the case broke. And then you talk to the detective about it, and he's like, no, you know what? Actually, that wasn't even a big deal. You know, we had these three other things that we really worried about. But I'll tell you what was important. I found that quarter in the drawer, and that had his fingerprint on it, and that's, what really broke the case. So, I mean, a lot of those are on a case by case basis, but
sure.
in general, and this is where it overlaps with like shooting scripted film, like your preparation better be done. Because you can't show up on day one and not be prepared because you are going to get eaten alive.
Oh,
It is
sure.
not going to go your way. When you get into the edit, you're going to have a pile of hot garbage and you're not going to know what the fuck to do with it. So
Yeah,
like you need to plan ahead, whether that what you're planning and how you're doing that might change from project to project, but you need the time and to put in the effort, which I'm sure is probably true of a lot of creative projects. The
sure.
preparation, you can't just like, although maybe, dancing too. I mean, you can't just like hop out on the dance floor and just create magic. You gotta like
Yeah, practice.
you gotta practice. So
Hmm.
yeah, I guess if there's one thing you want to take away from this, I would say prepare, prepare, prepare. I mean, the thing is, if you're quote unquote nobody and you're operating at a low level where no one's watching,
Yeah,
the one asset you do have, maybe you don't have money, maybe you don't have equipment, the one asset you do have is time. So take that time and use it to the best of your ability so that when that opportunity or when day one comes, you're ready for it.
definitely.
Um,
Now, why don't we talk a little bit about the differences between working in TV and working in film? There are a lot of similarities, there are a lot of differences when it comes to that?
um, Television is a lot more rigid and um, um, there's a lot more of a recipe to television. Film is a lot more chaotic and kind of like every different film is different into its own way, shape, or form, and it's a different length. Like you can have a feature film that's like 63 minutes long. You can have a feature film that's 5 hours long, but they're both considered feature films, and maybe they're even in the same genre or the same style or whatever. But for television, the project you're making has to fit into a, a 28-minute block or a 42-minute block. I mean, usually. I mean, there's
Sure.
some Netflix shows and HBO shows that are loosey-goosey about the runtime.
Yeah,
But on the whole, you need to make sure in TV series that your story fits into that block. And that means sometimes you have to leave some of the good parts of the story out, just because you don't have time. As opposed to a film where often they put way too much in and the film could have been a half hour shorter, which is often the times I find for movies these
yeah,
days. You just like you get
for
to the end
sure.
and you're like, that could have been a half hour shorter. That didn't
Yeah,
need to be that long.
definitely.
So I would say that's probably the major difference between the two media. Um, I'm sure there's 100 other people who have 100 other different opinions on it, but I would say on the whole, that's probably the big difference.
Very cool. Now, also, what about the difference between, being a producer and helping people tell their stories as opposed to, when you're behind the camera and you're able to tell your own story? What can we talk about that?
Um, well, I just produced a short film in February actually, where I didn't write it, I didn't direct it, I produced it, and I did edit it, but someone else wrote and directed it, Suzanne Curtis. It's a short film called Chris Only.
Oh yeah, we were definitely going to
It,
talk about that one too. We can't not talk about a show about Chris with Chris in the show.
right, of course, of course. Well, so for that, that's also a lot of preparation, but it's a different kind of preparation. You need to be doing
Sure.
logistical preparation, so that the director can worry about creative things and doesn't have to worry about when is lunch going to get there, how long you have the location for, um, when does hair and makeup need to show up? Those kinds of things are the kinds of things that you can worry about as the producer, so that you're creating a nice creative uh, situation, so that the actors and the director and everyone can kind of just do their thing.
Sure.
And then at some point you have to know when to take a step back and to
Yeah.
keep your mouth shut. Because like you might be looking at the lighting in a certain room and you're like, you want to light it like this? But like at that point you're like, well, I'm not the director, I'm not the DP. I have my opinions, but I'm going to take a step back and keep my mouth shut and let their magic happen. And you're doing a different role at that point. So I would say that's kind of like at least, and everyone directs and everyone produces in their own way, shape, or form. But like,
Sure.
um, that would be the biggest thing is, know your lane, stay in your lane. And, unless things go really off the rails and you need to step in or something like that. But like
Yeah.
on the whole, just, stay in your lane.
Yeah, I think that's definitely got to be, one of the harder things I would think is, because you're doing the editing, you're doing the producing, and think that, a certain aspect could go a different way, or like you said, a slight change in lighting could make this better, but really, unless they're asking for your opinion, you really kind of just got to go with what they say, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be
Yeah.
hard.
And even sometimes when they do turn to you and say, what do you think? Sometimes you just have to read the room and go, no, I think whatever the DP thinks, I'll let's go with that, and then,
Sure,
you know, so, and, and knowing how to read the room is something that actually kind of just comes with experience and
sure.
just, you know,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
so yeah.
So, why don't we take some time now to talk about some of your stuff? Now that we've talked about stuff you've helped create, why don't we spend some time talking about stuff that you've done? So one of the things I want to talk about is one you brought up a couple times, Chasing Sunshine. So for those out there who've never heard of Chasing Sunshine, why don't we give you a minute to pitch it and so people know about it?
Okay. So it's a feature comedy film. It's about it's an odd couple road trip movie about two strangers who get in a car and go on a, a scavenger hunt around the San Fernando Valley. It's basically it's a scavenger hunt to follow one clue to the next clue to the next clue to the next clue, because it's at the end of the clues is a secret admirer. Like a secret admirer has left all these clues for one of the people, and then the other person kind of gets roped into it. So they're strangers at the beginning, but by the end, they're friends and they learn something about each other and they get into shenanigans along the way. And it's a comedy. So like we we wanted to keep it kind of light, but at the
Sure.
same time, there's a lot of comedy that like is based in tragedy. I guess they say comedy is tragedy with some time. you
Sure.
know.
Makes sense.
So that's it in a nutshell. And you can watch it on the Tubi streaming platform for free. You can also find it on Amazon if you want to rent it or buy it.
Nice. And I picked a couple other ones. There's so many that you've done, which I think is really cool. Another one I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about was Operation Payback.
Yeah. Eh, my bad. I didn't send you links to any of
Oh,
these
you're
things
you're
for
totally
you.
good, man. You're totally. I mean,
I'll I'll send you links after.
I saw him from your IMDb page, and I read a little bit about him, but for those who haven't heard of this stuff, I'd like to help get it out there so people know about it.
Sure, sure. Operation Payback is a short comedy film. It's just a little over 5 minutes long, and basically it's about a radicalized political movement group that seeks to make a big public splash and kidnaps a member of the corporate elite, um, just to kind of, grab some headlines and bring some light to a subject that they are particularly concerned about. And so this movie is, um, they kidnap the wrong guy. And so they finally get him back to their lair. They get him into their basement and get a good look at his face and realize they got the wrong guy. And so then eventually they have to release him back into the wild. So they bring him back to his house. Um, but then kind of the yes and part of the film is that once he gets back to his house, he has to now tell his wife where he's been for the last 48 hours
Yeah.
and his explanation, and she doesn't believe his explanation. And it basically leads to her walking out on him.
Oh man.
So, I mean, it's not exactly like a comedy with a heart.
Sure.
It's kind of like more of a comedy for like wacky comedy's sake, but I wouldn't call it wacky at all. But
Sure.
yeah, that was an idea I had in 2022, and we were all just getting out of the fog of lockdown,
Mm.
and I wanted to try to make something that was like simple and amusing and had very few locations and very small cast and crew, and it kind of came together. And that was actually one of those things where like it played at a few film festivals, and at one of those film festivals was a programmer for the Santa Fe Film Festival, and he came up to me after, which is kind of a big one. I would put it as like a medium tier film festival. Like it's a pretty big one.
Sure.
And he basically came up to me after the screening and was like, "Hey, I love your short. I want it in the Santa Fe Film Festival." And I was like, "Oh my God, really? Oh,
Nice.
okay, okay."
That's
It
awesome.
was like the first film festival I went to that had like a decent, gift bag.
Nice. That's always a
That's
plus.
Yeah, I guess that's like the yardstick for film festivals. But
There you go.
yeah, thank you for asking about it. I'm
Yeah.
actually trying to get it onto like some short film streaming platforms these days, which are kind of few and far between. But
Sure.
um, but yeah, that one came together. And
Nice.
and shame on me. I'll send you a link so you can check
No,
it out.
you're all good. One other one I wanted to talk a little bit about was Devil's Dilemma, because that one looked like a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
And I'll send you a link to that one too. I
Okay.
apologize.
Oh, you're
That
good.
was that's like the one that I currently am touring around to film festivals with. It is also a short comedy, basically about this woman that's haunted by demons. And then at some point, um, one of the demons has a crisis of conscience and kind of basically decides that instead of being evil, they're gonna be good. But they're still demons and they're still haunting her. So, but like their intentions change. I thought it was like a nice juxtaposition of like different styles.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, that one has won a couple of awards, and it's going to play at a couple of different film festivals in August. One of which is the Valley Film Festival, which is here in San Fernando Valley. If you're local to LA, check it out, please. Another one will be at the end of August, which is the Lonely Seal Film Festival, which is in Arlington, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that one. I think it came together pretty well.
that's awesome.
And that was
Um,
actually one that I also shot. Like
that's cool.
I was the DP on that. I have a bunch of my own equipment and stuff like that. And I'm not a great DP, but I work for free. So I figured,
It's always good.
well, if I keep it simple, I can't screw it up too much.
There you go.
And so it kind of came together.
Nice. Also, I wanted to kind of, go back a little bit to Chris Only because again, being a Chris myself, that movie sounded very interesting. So, why don't we talk a little bit about, what that one's about?
Sure. It's a thriller. It's about a woman who um, has trust issues, and she's house sitting for a few days. And while she's house sitting, an unexpected visitor arrives and really tests her ability or inability to trust other people. There's a twist in it that I'm not going to let out of the bag.
Sure.
But um, it's only 14 minutes long. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. And it's not like a bloody horror film or anything like that. It's very much a thriller in a Hitchcockian kind of way.
Nice.
And this is one of those situations where a friend of mine uh, wrote it and directed it, and I offered to produce it and help her get it together. Her name is Suzanne Curtis.
Very cool.
And we just actually, on Father's Day, had our first film festival screening of it.
Nice.
One of the two main characters is named Chris. That's where the title comes from.
Sure.
We didn't realize you were available. I would have approached you about playing the part, but
It's all right, man. I'm a little bit far away, so I totally I'll let it slide this one time.
okay. But yeah, we had a screening about 8 days ago, and it went really well, and we're
Nice.
hopefully continue to see that on the big screen in some festivals. And
Um,
I should note for the record that like just because your film screens in a film festival doesn't mean you get any money or anything like that. As a matter of fact,
sure.
it's usually the opposite. You have to pay to submit,
Yeah,
and then you have to pay to get a DCP, and then you usually have to pay for promotional materials to get butts in the seats and that kind of thing. So like just because your film is in a film festival, which is great, it's not like you're on easy street from then on and like Steven Spielberg is going to come calling. It's more of just like part of the creative process where you get to see it in front of a bunch of strangers that don't owe you anything and get a real honest uh, reaction to what you did.
sure. That makes sense. Now I did notice on the poster that it did say that or in the information of the movie, it did say the poster was done by Mr. Pat Coyle. And I'm guessing
Yeah,
that's your brother Patrick.
that is my brother Patrick. My brother Patrick has designed all of my poster or my movie posters,
That's awesome.
including so that's the original one for Chasing Sunshine. There's a different one that's over here that you're not gonna be able to see. But yeah, he has been very helpful in lending his time and talents to my projects, and I do my best to add my time and talents to his projects. But I know he does comic books, so
Yeah.
I try to help him with his crowdfunding videos
Nice.
since
Those those are those are
I
very,
edit
very
them
good.
together. So
Yeah, those are very good. I was gonna ask, I mean, obviously we know now that, you guys work together on the posters. Have you guys ever made anything together or have you talked about making anything together?
yeah, over the years we've definitely worked on things together, um, as far as like scripts and stuff like that. Like he had this idea for a comic book 20 years ago. And like at one point I was like, you know what? That would be a good TV show. Why don't we get our act together and try to write a pilot script and like pitch it around as a TV show?
Yeah.
And he was like, sure, all right. Why don't you write the script and then I'll take a look at it and we'll kind of like it'll evolve from there. And so nothing ever came of that, but that was one project we did work on together. And then sometimes, at least for the first episode of Bixby Grant, he did send me the script and asked me for feedback. He also helps me to put together pitch decks for certain projects that I'm working on as well. So if people don't know what a pitch deck is, it's basically like the 15-page, flashy magazine article version of what you want a movie or a TV show to be so that people have something visual to look at.
Sure.
So he's been able to help me put some of that stuff together. So
Nice.
we do. I mean, he lives in Massachusetts and he has a family and stuff like that. So like, we don't exactly have all the kind of time in the world to work on each
Sure.
other's stuff all the time, but
Yeah.
there is definitely some overlap, and neither of us is shy about asking the other one to work on each other's stuff.
Very cool. That's awesome. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
Siblings working together to make creative stuff. That's good stuff.
Yeah, who knew?
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to the differences between short films and features, is there a big difference in the process of what goes into making them, or is it pretty similar for the most part?
Uh, there shouldn't be any difference between the two. I mean, obviously the length, for a short film, you might not only shoot 1 or 2 days, and for a feature, you might shoot 35 days. So like that's a
Sure.
big difference.
Yeah.
But like there shouldn't be any difference in your creative preparation or your logistical preparation for those things. It's just one's a lot more work,
Sure.
just time-wise,
Yeah.
and probably more expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
But your short film should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like your feature should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I say should because there's all kinds of different like projects. Like if you want to have an experimental film where there isn't a beginning, a middle, and an end, or if you want to have like a slice of life film, like I'm just saying these are the rules of thumb that I go by.
Yeah.
That like those are the kinds of films I like to watch, and those are the films I like to make. That's a good story, and you're following it. There's plenty of different kinds of films you can make, but um, for me and for I think um, the general consensus would be that like your film needs to tell a story and it needs to be compelling and bring an audience in and hopefully they feel something. Whether that means they love it, maybe they hate it, maybe they're horrified by it, maybe they learn something about themselves, maybe it's a cautionary tale. In any way, shape, or form, it's those things still apply to a short as well as a feature. So that's a terrible answer to your question.
No, it makes sense. Like you said, there should be no difference between a feature and a short other than, length of time you take to make it, which makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, or if you're David Lynch, then none of the rules apply, you know?
Yeah,
And that's okay
good
too.
point. That's a good point.
That's okay,
Yeah,
there's
for
it
sure.
takes all kinds.
There you go.
But yeah, so
Definitely. All right, man. Well, before I let you go, I want to see, is there any other projects coming or anything that's out right now that you want to take some time to talk about?
um no, I just while I have this platform, I'll plug again for Chasing Sunshine. It is on Tubi and on Amazon right now. We're working to get it on other platforms, but it's a little slow going. So,
Sure.
and Tubi's free. So the more eyeballs I can get watching it, the better for the project. And I'm not necessarily talking about like money and monetary. I just mean
Yeah,
I wanted to find an audience. And so
definitely.
any way I can direct traffic in that direction, I'm happy to do.
Sure. I mean, like, yeah, any creator, regardless of, what it is you make, is wants to make stuff that for people to consume, whether they're watching it, reading it, whatever. And,
Yeah,
whether it's monetary or not, you don't want to just make stuff to just put out there that no one watches, right? I mean, they say,
right,
make stuff for you. But
right.
and of course everyone does that, but it's always nice to have other people enjoy it as well, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we final question. If Darren now could go back in time and give young Darren advice, what would that be?
Uh, don't just think about it and sit at the bar drinking a beer and telling your buddy about the script you want to write. Go write it. Go make the thing. Don't sit around talking about it, wishing you could do it, wishing you had the the money or the time or the just go out and do it and you fall on your face a few times, but that's fine. Like doesn't matter. Just go out and do it.
That's good advice. All right, man. So where can people stay up to date with stuff that's coming from you? Stay up to date on your projects. Where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at darrencoyle.com. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm Darren underscore W underscore Coyle. And I'm also on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook if you like, but I'm probably more the Instagram and my website.
Very cool. All right, now for me, I want to take a minute to thank Polygon Horizon. The song Pizza Force is the song I use for the show. It's a fantastic song. They're great dudes, so go give them some love on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you can find them. You can find me, Fueled by Weird, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok mostly. I'm on Threads a little bit. I'm starting to kind of migrate over to Threads a little bit more because it's kind of awesome over there. You can also send me an email at fueledbyweird@gmail.com. You can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcasts, wherever you want to go to find them, you'll find me there. So go check me out. And for any of the links that you might have forgotten, go check out my Linktree. Everything's there, so you can find everything there. Go check out my boy Hassel Hutchison. He's got the Nerdy Man Room Show channel, also the Nerdy Man Room Show, along with Hassel's Review, where he does a lot of unboxings and toy reviews. He's also got Card Subject to Change, which is a what if for pro wrestling. So if you're a big pro wrestling fan, go check it out. Also, go check out Big Rob's House of Entertainment, No Chinese Food. That dude travels the country, finds all the good deals, and has lots of good reviews and opinions about stuff. The two of us, or the two of them, along with myself and our friend Monster, make up the Stay Weird Network. It's a podcast network dedicated to bringing some awesome back to the internet. Check us out at Stay Weird Network on YouTube and Instagram, and you can email us at stayweirdnetwork@gmail.com. Now, if you like the show, please leave a review and tell your friends because word of mouth is my friend. And remember, kids, it's only weird if you make it weird. So make it real weird. Darren, thanks so much for joining me tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.